Congratulations! You just bought a turntable or received one from someone who clearly cares for you. But it doesn't work. You plugged all the cables, everything seemed fine, but sound wouldn't come out. In fact, the sound does come out, but it's barely audible. It's a tiny sound where you have to come close to the speaker to hear anything. Is it the cartridge? Is it a defect from the turntable? No. It's just that you need a phono preamplifier. A what? A phono preamplifier, also called a phono preamp or a phono stage. Yes, another thing to buy when it comes to vinyls. Be prepared because it's only the beginning. Turntables do need a phono preamplifier to work. Why? We'll look into that in this video. We'll also see how cartridges and phono preamp work together, and we will review a good phono preamp to start with, the Shitmani 2. It's a good option if you just start with turntables. Welcome to the Bast Audiophile with your host, the Bast, an audiophile. Most of us are attracted to vinyl records. Their lush and warm sound, their physical factor, the fact that we can touch them. It's a whole experience. The ritual of playing a record and the fact that you can read a large cover. All these reasons pile up. We love vinyl records, but also they come with surprises, and be prepared for a long list of extra costs and efforts. Today we try to give you an introduction to what a phono preamp is, why you need one, how it works, how does cartridges work, how do they work together, and we'll look into a specific model, the Shitmani 2. We'll look how this specific model works, and I'll give you a complete guide how to start with vinyls basically. A lot to cover today, so be prepared, grab yourself something to drink, make yourself comfortable. If you are new to turntables, you might want to watch the whole video. For others, it might simply be a good revision. So what is a phono preamp, and why do we need one? There are two reasons. The first one is because the cartridge doesn't produce enough voltage for the amplifiers. Cartridges just produce a tiny bit of electricity. Therefore, the signal must be preamplified before it even reaches your main preamplifier. As you can see here in our chart of the audio chain, you'll see all the equipment required to record and listen to music. From the microphone of the singer at the complete left, up to your own speakers at the complete right of the chart. If you find this chart a little bit complicated, you might be interested in our episode 81, where we explain how to build a hi-fi sound system. You can see the link now on the screen, and it's also in the description near the comments down below of the video. But for now, we are just interested in the turntable. You can see here that the phono preamp connects between your turntable and your main preamplifier, or your integrated amplifier. The phono stage is a preamplifier specific to turntables. It's needed because cartridges produce a signal too tiny for your amplifier. As an example, my cartridge is the ANA SL Mark I. It has an output voltage of 0.4 to 0.5 millivolts at 1 kHz, which is nothing. It's what we call a low output moving coil cartridge. Later in this video, we'll see the difference between the two major types of cartridges, moving magnet and moving coil. The difference is important because many phono preamps are only compatible with moving magnet cartridges, also called MM cartridges. Some phono preamp also work with moving coil cartridges. We call them MC cartridges. They come in two categories, the low output and the high output cartridges. Basically, your phono preamp must be perfectly matched to the cartridge of your turntable. Maybe your turntable has already a phono preamp built in. Maybe your amplifier has already a phono preamp built in. You'll know easily if you can find a RCA connectors with the mentioned phono on them. Even if your turntable or your amplifier has a phono preamp built in, you might want to purchase an external phono preamp to either match your cartridge's impedance or simply have a better sound. So we've seen that the phono preamp increases the signal. That's the first reason why we need a phono preamp. The second reason why, well, before to explain it, we need to understand how our cartridges work. vinyl record, there's a groove. Music comes from a diamond oscillating into the groove. The groove makes the needle vibrate, left and right, up and down. This creates a voltage in the cartridge. How? The cartridge has a needle. The needle is called a stylus for fancy reasons. And the stylus has a tiny diamond point that can have different shapes depending on the cartridges. That diamond point vibrates according to the groove of the record, spinning clockwise. There are two types of cartridges, MM for moving magnet and MC for moving coil. These are two different approaches to generate a little voltage, a little electricity current. The MM cartridges are the most common ones and the easier to produce. There is a magnet attached to the stylus, and when the stylus vibrates, the magnet oscillates into a coil, creating a little voltage. The distance between the magnet and the coil is constantly moving, forcing electrons to move from one to the other, and by doing so, creating a tiny current that changes through time. This vibration of voltage in time is the tiny signal that we'll need to amplify for the speakers in order to create music. That signal generated by the cartridge needs therefore to be amplified many times for the speakers to do their job. That's how a MM cartridge works. Now the MC cartridges work in the exact opposite way. It's the coil that sits on the stylus instead of the magnet. The coil moves between magnets, creating a smaller signal, but it's considered to be a better signal because many audiophiles see that the coil is lighter than the magnet, making the MC stylus more agile, able to express more details and nuances in the groove. So theoretically, a MC stylus is more able to mold the groove variations than a MM stylus. But finding the best cartridge is an active debate online. There are many good MM cartridges. Here is an example of a moving magnet. You can see the two little magnets. They are in a V shape at 45 degrees angle each. This is for the left and right signals. This is how it generates a stereo effect for your left and right speakers. The fixed coils are at the top of the cartridge. Here they are close to the magnets by 4 pole pieces. As the stylus oscillates left and right, up and down, different electrical impulses will be generated between the two magnets and the 4 coils. As shown inside the blue circle, this is where the magic happens. Music appears from these tiny electrical impulses generated by the moving magnets. Since magnets are charged, the electrical signal generated by an MM cartridge is higher than the one from a MC one. Meaning that MM cartridges need less amplification than MC ones, which is a good thing. Now let's see a moving coil cartridge. A MC cartridge has coils on the stylus, like here. You can see that there is a little cross on the stylus where 4 coils are put. Each coil is very tiny and will create a very small current on which the phono preamp will need to apply gain. So that resumes how our stylus works and why we need a phono preamplifier. Because the cartridge produces just a tiny signal. And since every cartridge is different, you must make sure that your phono preamplifier is correctly set to fit your cartridge technical specifications. So in summary, before to buy a phono preamp, you need to know what is your cartridge, what is its impedance, and if it's an MM or MC mechanism. Then you must look at your preamplifier and turntable to make sure that these machines match. Basically, you need to read the tech specs of your amplifier, your turntable, your cartridge, and your phono preamp, and make sure that they're all compatible. Now we've just seen the first reason why we need a phono preamp. It's to amplify the signal that is too tiny coming from the cartridge. But there's a second reason. The second reason is the RIAA equalization. What is the RIAA equalization? The RIAA stands for Recording Industry Association of America. That association has developed an equalization standard for the recording industry since 1954. It's used to equalize the frequencies of recordings for vinyls following a precise pattern. A little bit like this. Consciously, the record companies boost the high frequencies by 20 dBs. And lower the bass frequencies by 20 dBs before pressing records. Why? First, it helps to reduce the noise. Second, and that's more important, bass requires a wider groove on the disc, meaning that normally the groove would need to be a 1/4 inch which is not practical. Lowering the bass helps gaining more space on the record, so we can put more songs on each side. When music comes to the phono preamp, the machine needs to apply the opposite pattern to recreate the original equalization, following this exact pattern. The blue line shows the recording equalization at pressing. The red line shows how a phono preamp reestablishes the balance in the frequencies, the goal being to regain a flat frequency spectrum by the end of the process. So yes, your phono preamp has a built-in EQ, an equalizer, who has the task to boost the bass back to 20 decibels and to decrease the treble by 20 decibels. This is the second reason why we need a phono preamp. Now that we understand why we need a phono preamp and how cartridges and phono preamps work, we can finally look at the Shitmany 2. I've had the Shitmany 2 for over 3 years now. Am I satisfied of it? You bet. The Shitmany 2 does everything correctly. It's versatile. It's compatible with MM and MC cartridges at low and high output. The sound is acceptable, and because it's only $149, the Shitmany 2 is a phenomenal value. The only other phono preamp that comes close to it is the i5 Phono Zen, which is also a good product, but it's $50 more. When I purchased the Many 2, I had no clue what was a phono preamp. I had just bought an old turntable and realized that it couldn't work without a phono preamp. I went for the easier solution. I bought the Many 2. Reviews were all good on YouTube. I'll talk about its sound quality in a second, but now let's see how it works. Looking at the technical specification sheet, we can see that it offers great flexibility and can adapt to most cartridges with ease. First, you may see that the Shitmany 2 offers 4 sets of gain from low input, low output to high input, high output to adapt to MM or MC cartridges of different caliber. Also 4 different impedance profiles. The RIAA equalization is accurate up to 0.2 decibels, which is awesome. So overall, if you buy the Shitmany 2 for $149, you get a very good phono preamp and you can start right away listening to your favorite vinyl records. When you look at the back, it's pretty straightforward and everything is dandy. You have 2 RCA input to connect your turntable and 2 RCA outputs to connect your integrated amplifier or your preamplifier, with a ground and an external power supply. That's it. It's simple. But when you look at the bottom, you get a cold shower. What is all this gibberish? To set the settings correctly, please use the product manual. The good news is that the company Shit always makes their manual short and fun to read. Really. In short, you can see here that there are 3 sections. The first one is filters. You can use filters at 0 dB, 6 dB or 12 dB to tame the low frequency signal when it deviates from the norm. This can be used when you get warp records, meaning when the records are deformed. This filtering is rarely useful. Don't use it if you don't have to. It will keep the signal clean. The second section is loading. It's recommended to keep the settings as is when you receive the Many 2. But if you have an MC cartridge, you might need to play with the loading settings. Whether you have a low output or high output MC cartridge, the impedance of the phono preamp will need to match as close as possible the impedance of your phono cartridge. The third setting is gain. Different settings will give you 33, 42, 48 or 60 dB extra. If you want to avoid distortion or changes in the quality of the signal, put everything to low. The Shitmany 2 has a lot of gain, meaning it's sensitive. It will hiss if you put it close to a power supply or another machine. The background noise can be a problem, so isolate the machine from others and keep the cables short. Now, how does the machine sound? It sounds clear, honest, and faithful to the instrument's tonality. There is not a significant sound signature like warm or analytical. It reveals detail, but it's not the most detailed phono preamp. It's not warm, but is it cold? Not really. It's honest. Is there any hiss or background noise? Not really, it's pretty silent if you said it right. But after hearing other phono preamps on other systems, I feel that my Shitmany 2 has reached its limit. I feel that my system could have more bass authority, more airiness in the treble, more dynamics, more clarity in the mid-range, and a better soundstage. Basically more sauce in the sound, if it makes sense. After more than 3 years of use, My Schiit Manitou has provided great services, and I had good moments with it, but it's time for me to look for something more high-end. It was great for me to have at low cost a solution for my turntable to play records right away. I've been able to attest that I like vinyls. I was able to grow my record collection and be more comfortable with the medium. But now that I know that I love vinyls and turntable and that I will use them often, I'm looking for a more performance solution. Buying a Schiit Manitou was a choice of the brain. I had not budgeted a phono preamp when I purchased my old turntable. I didn't know phono preamps existed. So at just $149 compared to other phono preamps, the Manitou was an easy choice. At that time, my heart was filled just with the discovery of record. I'm highly appreciative of the product, and I'm very happy about the 3 years it served its purpose. But now my heart wants more. More sound, more performance. The phono preamp is an important part of a hi-fi sound system. It works in tandem with the cartridge, and together they define the sound that we hear. The Schiit Manitou was a great solution, and it starts your journey into vinyl, or if you're looking for a budget solution, it's a great option. It's a very good phono preamp overall. It reveals with transparency and delicacy the music. I've really enjoyed it for 3 years. It never broke, never caused any problem, it's reliable, a calm force in my system. But after 3 years, the hi-fi bug might start to itch you, and you might start looking for something new, more performant. I hope that over the coming weeks, I'll be able to do a video on something more upscale, and do a direct comparison with the Schiit Manitou for you. Yes, another reason to do a new video. Hopefully you will join me by subscribing to this channel. Yes, I know if you watch this on your TV, it's an extra effort to press the subscribe button. But I would love you to join me for my next episodes. I would like to hear from you in the comments as well. What was your first experience with turntables? When did you realize you needed a phono preamp? How did that happen? What was your learning curve for setting the right parameters for your cartridge? Is your quest for the best sound is over? You might want as well to take part of the making of these videos and chat with me while I'm producing them. For that, you're kindly invited to join my Patreon. The link is down below in the description. It's only $7 a month and it helps support the channel in the long run. It's fun and an opportunity for us to exchange directly. I hope that you enjoyed this video and it helped you in your hi-fi journey. Thank you for watching until the end. We hope to see you in the next one. Until then, take care and goodbye.